Decorating Center. Check them out, 5789 State Street in Saginaw, or go online to westsidedecoratingcenter.com. A beautiful fall Thursday here in the Great Lakes Bay region. I don't know about you, but I've been missing the fall weather. These 80-degree days in October were a little bit much for me, but happy to be in long sleeves here towards the tail end. It feels like trick-or-treating weather, as it should towards the end of the month here. So I don't know. I've heard some grumbling, some complaining, but I'm a fan of it. Got a good show lined up for today. During the 10 o'clock hour, we'll be talking with Caleb Rowell, the Director of Public Safety in Bay City, and they've got some initiatives that they're pushing. I also want to ask him about law enforcement during the Halloween time, and I know that that's changed a lot in the last couple decades, so interested to hear more about that. But we're going to have some fun here in the 9 o'clock hour because I'm joined by Jimmy Green. He's the Vice President of Marketing and Community Affairs for the Saginaw Spirit, and we're going to talk hockey. Hi. Jimmy, good morning.
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Jonathan.
Thanks for joining. So let's start. Well, I want to talk about what the community affairs of the Saginaw Spirit are, but I want to talk about that later because let's start with hockey.
Let's start with hockey.
Thursday night hockey tonight, Saginaw versus Flint. Yeah. It's a classic, and there's a little bit of
you think
of chapped rear ends after this last one.
Yeah, we're down 0-3 obviously in the rivalry cup, and and that last one just still hurts a lot, and even though you get the apology from the league suggesting that not suggesting but admitting, I should say, that they got it wrong, it's still when you look at the standings, it's still there, right? So so even though the letter's there, that's L is still there too, which is something that drives us nuts. But hey, I mean, that's the way it plays out. And I think in any sport, you never want to leave it to the last second. You never want to leave it to a referee. You want to play your game so well that you don't leave anything in question. And I think our guys certainly recognize that. And I think you have those games where all of a sudden it rights the ship, if you will, because if you notice over the last 3 games, that's exactly what's happened. You don't leave yourself to chance.
And it was a 3-3 weekend against tough opponents too.
Yeah,
it wasn't a bounce back weekend against some easy teams. I guess Erie towards the bottom of the conference, but then there's Owen Sound and Windsor, who are top of the West.
And it's funny because I've been a long student of this league, and I've been a season ticket holder for 23 years before I even joined the team 2.5 years ago. But there are no weak teams. There are teams with a lesser record.
Yeah,
and I always like to put it that way. There are teams with a lesser record than others, but weak, no. You're talking about 16 to 20-year-olds who are certainly talented and draft capable and eligible, and so it's competitive on the ice every single game. And I think sometimes, unfortunately, you see that play out. I think we're a better team than Flint, but I also think that Flint plays up to us, that rivalry, and I think maybe we have to challenge ourselves to play up to that same level as well. But I think our coaches pretty much get those guys ready for that.
Absolutely, and I think they're feeling a lot better here.
Yeah, but to call Flint weak is an insult.
Not
they're not weak at all. They're a good team.
Yeah. You're a bit closer to the team than I am. I'm involved in kind of the analysis sometimes, but it seemed like to start off the season, it was a little bumpy. Lots of overtime games, lots of them not going our way.
Right.
What's the dynamic there when there's this tough time? Is there just kind of this gelling process of we've got to get this figured out and things start clicking into place?
Well, the funny part about that is, I know it's going to sound weird, to me it was a met expectation. I expected it. I mean, you got to remember when we first started out, we had 9 players gone.
That's true.
9 players gone in camps, which is a great thing to have, mind you, because it obviously suggests that we're putting that kind of talent on the ice that's draft eligible, and now they're in these NHL camps. And then you have some language barriers. We've got Europeans over here. We got 2 that have a difficulty with English. So, you got all these dynamics. And then it's the start of the season, right? And everybody wants to play the Saginaw Spirit, let's face it. And so all of a sudden you have all these dynamics, 9 people gone. we're competitive. And what was interesting about that is people look at the overtime games and the shootouts, and I'm like, yeah, but those could have been losses. So it's not like you weren't in the games. We wound up on the short end of the stick, pun intended, in the shootouts and in the overtimes, but you're there, right? I mean, it's not an L. And then all of a sudden our team comes back and they're trying to, 7 of the players come back. Perek and Misa are still out in Calgary and San Jose. But now all of a sudden you got these 7 coming back, and then there's a chemistry thing. There's an on-ice shift chemistry. And so all of that comes to play. And so I still don't think we've gelled, that chemistry is there yet. But I think our coaches did an incredible job at getting us to that place where we're so competitive that, we're probably one of the best teams that everybody plays. And that's before we gel, as the word you use. So I love where we are. And again, that rocky, bumpy start, the fact that, we're 5-4, 3-2, which is a weird way to say our record, right?
Yeah. At one point, we were 1-1-1-1.
Right. I know. It's been a weird thing, the record, the standings, but I like where we are. I do.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that's kind of the nature of the league. As a developmental league, guys age out, they move on to the next level. Now with NCAA, the college route open to them, there's going to be a lot more of that. But there are ups and downs.
Sure, yeah.
And the real trick is staying competitive and staying consistent. And honestly, looking at kind of where Saginaw is at when it comes to coming off a year, Memorial Cup 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Last season, still a very competitive team. This season, still a very competitive team with a full draft
all
cover.
Of that. Yep.
Like,
we have a saying, in Drinkle we trust.
Yeah. The management is there.
Drinkle. Yeah. And I mean, you got a master architect moving these pieces on the chessboard, right?
Yeah.
And he's keenly aware of this. I mean, you and I are novices in comparison to what he does every single day. He's trying to make sure that Saginaw is as competitive. And we said that even during the Memorial Cup, that we weren't building the team to win the Memorial Cup. We did, but we were building the team that would ultimately be competitive. The draft picks we had, everything was designed to be competitive from that year on out, not just a one-shot wonder. And when you consider what we lost in that after that Memorial Cup, and then to be competitive like we were last year, I would still suggest that we were still a better team than Erie. We had the most unfortunate occurrences of injuries that happened in that series, but I thought we were incredibly competitive, and come back in this season too, and we're just as competitive as we've always been. We have built a culture. People don't come in here like we're a homecoming game. Oh, no. I always say that, everybody's homecoming game is the team that you're going to beat, right? We're not that team. They come in here, and these guys, they come with their best game, and we got to be on our best game or we wind up losing. But I love this team and what it represents and what it looks like year in and year out.
It's fun to watch, too.
Yeah. When I started with the Spirit years ago as a season ticket holder, we used to come to the games, and our expectation was, God, I hope they keep it close.
Yeah.
Now our fans come and expect to win.
Yeah.
So that disappointment's completely different now, which tells you about our culture.
Absolutely, it does. We got a couple minutes here in the first segment, so we're not going to get too deep into the weeds here. We talked about the Memorial Cup. We talked about staying competitive last year.
Right.
Two big pieces of both of those things right now are playing towards the end of where they can play in the NHL. Michael Misa, Zane Perek. I think Perek just is on it. He has one more game that he can play in the NHL before he's locked in.
Correct. Yep.
Misa has a couple more.
Right.
We can't say whether they'll come back or not because we have no idea.
We're not Calgary and we're not San Jose.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
We have no clue. But if one or both of them come back, this team looks really good.
You think?
The pieces we talk about, Saginaw is still competitive and looks to be competitive at least next year as well.
Yeah.
But we get a Michael Misa, a Zane Perek, or please, well, we'd love to see them succeed.
Yeah,
but
right.
We'd love to see them in Saginaw too. If we get both of them back, man, we're looking at another.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have
season.
a problem finding a billet for them, if you know what I mean.
No.
They can come stay with me.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So
Exactly.
that won't be a problem at all. Yeah, they're incredible. And raising those two young men to that level, I think Saginaw and its fans, the organization, we take a lot of pride in that.
Absolutely. I've had the privilege of talking with both of them, and yeah, it's a developmental league for the play, but also for the players.
Absolutely.
And just
You talk to Dick Garber, Craig Goslin, they will tell you that they look at that first and foremost. What kind of men are we developing that lead this organization? Oh, and they happen to be great on the ice, and it's in that order.
very high quality. Yeah. So, all right. That's enough about the team and the hockey and the fun stuff. We'll probably talk about it a little bit
I'm
more.
sure we will.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, a little bit about what Saginaw Spirit means out in the community.
Great.
We'll be back with Jimmy Green after this.
Gotta go.
7 hat.
Yeah, I got my ring
got
on.
the ring on.
Yeah.
So
I'm the ghost of Memorial Cup past. that's my outfit for today.
that's great. Yeah, absolutely. You were brought on officially into the organization during the Memorial Cup, but you were kept on after all of that hullabaloo.
Yeah.
To fill kind of this marketing and community affairs thing role, and I've noticed an uptick in the community outreach involvement with the Saginaw Spirit. Can you talk a little bit about just what your job is and what you do behind the scenes?
It's interesting how I got here to begin with, because I had left Associated Builders and Contractors and I was starting my own lobbying firm. And so Craig and Dick called me on a conference call and asked me to lead this effort with the Memorial Cup. And I'm kind of like, well, sure. I didn't think we'd win it, to be honest with you. But that was a year before we actually got the bid. So by the time we got the bid, I forgot. And it wasn't until after that I was down celebrating at the Dow Event Center like everybody else, not remembering that I had to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And it was a couple weeks later I went to lunch with Craig and Dick. You know, they said, "So what are we going to do?" And it hit me. I'm like, "Oh my God! I swear I
agreed to this. Oh yeah."
And so I met Kayla Payonk, and Kayla and I became like yin and yang. And then the idea was I knew the region knew me, and it was really about an education. It was building up this excitement about the Memorial Cup, obviously soliciting sponsorships, because this was its own entity. It was way beyond the Saginaw Spirit and something bigger than that. It was a CHL thing and not just a Saginaw Spirit. And having been a long-time fan and season ticket holder and corporate sponsor, it was pretty easy for me. And I love Dick and Craig to death. So I felt, this real commitment to putting my all into this thing, and I did. And so then ultimately, it was about making the community look like the Memorial Cup and the Memorial Cup look like the community. So I did a lot of community outreach, which, I've served on, I think last count, about 32 board of directors. And so I knew this community really well, and I wanted to make sure that our nonprofits were able to participate, because we didn't control the ticket pricing. And that was an important distinction, where before, we could have some leeway. Not with the Memorial Cup. That was all league driven. So at that point, I started doing a different kind of fundraiser to ensure that people of color, people who had socioeconomic or economic issues that couldn't afford to come, nonprofits couldn't afford to come. So we put almost 2,500 people into the Memorial Cup who probably couldn't afford to come. We did a lot of those things. We did Education Day. We brought all the schools in. So it was just this fun thing. And afterwards, when I sat down with Dick and Craig, and I was about ready to go back into lobbying, and they said, God, we'd really love for you to stay on board. You put a lot of seeds out in the communities, and we'd love for you to kind of work those, fertilize those opportunities. So I did. I elected to stay out of politics, kind of, and which turned out to be a great decision.
Yeah.
And that's what I do, though. I love this community, and I mean the community meaning the Great Lakes Bay region, and I look for opportunities to. And so I created a program called Spirit Cares, and it was this opportunity to purposely and intentionally find opportunities for the Saginaw Spirit to not just contribute back, because we felt this deep obligation to the community for making the Memorial Cup one of the most successful Memorial Cups the CHL had ever put on. Not our opinion, but that was from the CHL, who welcomes our opportunity to bid again. And so it was an obligation to give back. And so we've been finding these opportunities. We started and it's funny because we've been doing this anyway, like Hockey for the Homeless, for example. You talk about community. I was looking at the numbers. It was $104,000 that we raised for Hockey for Homeless, over $667,000 over the last 14 seasons.
Wow.
That's just one. Yeah, that's just one. You start thinking about the Eastside Soup Kitchen, all these different things that we've done anyway. Covenant Kids. I could go down the list. So we just wanted to extend that, and Spirit Cares was more of an outreach into communities we really hadn't touched. The minority, the East Side, some of the rural communities. We've done programs like street ball hockey, for example. We went to First Ward and partnered with them to teach kids just street ball on tennis shoes, and we partnered with the NHL to do that. That's been fun. We've got a program now at the Y teaching kids to swim for free. So by the end of the year, we'll have over, I think by last count, we'll have over 120 kids who are now learning to swim at the YMCA. I could go on and on. Everything that there's an opportunity for us to do, we do. We're doing a lot of work right now. We're extending and opening up our doors for, we don't know what's going to happen politically with the SNAP program, but if it does happen, there'll be a lot of people who won't have food. And so the Saginaw Spirit is going to open up our doors, and people can deposit, bring food, anything they want to help feed these folks. And then we partner with Hidden Harvest and the Eastside Soup Kitchen. They'll pick up that food and get food out to a community that, quite frankly, might be food starved. And that would just be terrible, especially when we play right down in downtown Saginaw. And we're just incredibly aware of our optics. We're incredibly aware of our obligation back into this community. We don't ever want to just be a hockey team. We want to be the community's team that plays hockey. That's always been at the forefront. Everything I've ever wanted to do for the community, I mean, it's not even a wink and a nod. I don't even ask for permission. Craig and Dick have made that abundantly clear. Do what's necessary to advance this organization back into our community as a big thank you.
When we're talking about some of the programs just to get involved with these communities, I'm thinking like the street ball, hockey.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah. How's that kind of thing getting received?
Really well. Saginaw Public Schools. So we're going to reintroduce this into this. Everybody says, oh, we used to always do that. Well, we used to always do it. It doesn't mean we're doing it. So I've worked with several people, and Superintendent Dr. Ramont Roberts has been incredibly welcoming for this program. So we're introducing, and again, it's a partnership with the NHL. It's top-notch equipment. We'll teach them this hockey on the gym floor, if you will. The equipment is top-notch, and we're going to ultimately build this league around the city. So we're going to start with 4 elementary schools. They will have weekend games at First Ward Community Center. So our goal is by 5 years, we'll have an entire city playing street ball, and no different than it used to be for the Macker and things like that. So we'll have a big tournament, all sponsored by the NHL. All, and again, none of this cost those schools anything at all.
That's
the
my
important
question.
thing.
Was the buy-in there? Does the equipment cost anything, or?
It does, but we pay for it.
Wow. Okay.
Right, not them.
Well, that's a big barrier, especially when it comes to hockey.
And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to remove that barrier. When you talk about hockey in particular, it's cost and logistics.
Yeah.
So what we did was we took the mountain to Muhammad in that sense, and we killed the cost. So now that you have those two huge barriers out of the way, guess what? You have a very welcoming community that says, okay, let's go. Let's drop the ball. In this case, instead of a puck. But, here's the beauty of it. What we're doing is measuring the excitement part of this. So at some point, any of those kids who have a desire to get on the ice, we will provide that access and opportunity as well, too. So we're baby stepping this program through. Again, we're not expecting anything to just be like, bam, right now. It's an involved, engaged, committed process and relationship that we have with our community. And that we'll take it in that pace where we go from gym floor to ice when it's necessary and when it's possible.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, it's fun too. I don't want to.
Oh, it sounds fun.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of these programs that are going on and how the team itself and the players get involved in some of this community outreach right here on the Art Lewis Show.
The cold Michigan weather is coming.
See Stormmaster Exteriors. And from the Stormmaster Exteriors studios, this is WS.
9:41 the time at WSGW. The Art Lewis Show is presented by Westside Decorating Center. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or go online, westsidedecoratingcenter.com. That's westsidedecoratingcenter.com. Check out all of the things they have going on there. We're talking with Jimmy Green. He is the Vice President of Marketing and Community Affairs for the Saginaw Spirit. And we talked during the last segment about some of the community affairs part of things, and then we went to break, and off the air we talked about more of the community affairs.
There's so many.
There's so much
that
you guys are involved with.
Yep.
I want to talk about some of the things that are a little bit more forward-facing that people might see going on. Saw some stuff on social media of some players visiting local schools.
Oh, yeah.
And getting involved in the community that way. It's not just the Spirit organization,
No.
it's the team as well getting involved there.
Well, again, it's about being a part of the community, right?
Yeah.
And our kids are very much a part of this community. We have a number of our players who actually attend high school at Heritage High, but we have a number who've graduated, and we want them to be acclimated into what community really means. The idea that we're training these young men to be men out in the community is part of this whole process. We take a lot of pride in developing these young men and their character. So, and not to mention, it's a little bit fun for them to be think about it, you're a 17, 18-year-old young man playing hockey, and you're like a hero. You're a superstar when you walk into these elementary schools. Kay Pankow years ago and Craig created this program called Adopt a School. So they have corporations now who can contribute tickets, not just tickets, but participation into this Adopt a School program. Emma Miller right now, who does our social media, runs that program for us. And her obligation is to get out to as many schools as possible with these players. I think the players get as much out of it as the students do, because it is a chance for them to just be young men. You know, I mean, they get judged so much on the ice, but off the ice, it's important for them to contribute and have a lot of fun. You know, so they teach the kids, some basic skills and things of that nature. But I think it's more just being present. Our opportunity to say thank you. Now we've turned that Adopt a School program into Adopt a Nonprofit. So we've got STEM, for example, First Ward. We constantly reach out to Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Emmaus House, Mustard Seed. We're constantly providing opportunities for those folks to come into the game as well, too. So we've taken a good thing and made it even better by making it even more extended, and I love leading that. Spirit Warriors program, too. I don't know anybody who does or recognizes veterans as better or as much as we do. We do it every game, but our participation and obligation out to the Spirit Warrior team, that for me just warms my heart with our contribution. Kids, I started a little thing called Chicks with Sticks, which was kind of a funny thing because we see so many young girls right now, not only at our games, but playing hockey. I mean, it is amazing right now. So we have one I really kind of adopted, little Kinsey Carwat, who's a little goalie, and she's just amazing. And she kind of helped me start this whole Chicks with Sticks program. I could just go on and on. It's just crazy. I'll let you ask me about, because you remind me of all the things I just do. It seems like on autopilot.
Yeah, well, when it's your job, you don't think about it all the time.
I show up.
And it occurs to me now, isn't there a PWHL team going in Detroit, too?
Oh, yeah.
So women's hockey definitely taking off. So it's cool to see that reflected here.
Yeah, we're going to put some girls on the, or now there'll be women on the ice when that actually happens, because it's just funny to watch how the dynamics. I don't think it's an accident. I don't think it's a coincidence either. I think it's part of our outreach programs that have made people go, oh, I didn't know that, or I want to do that, or let me come to a game. And those are the kind of things that stoke interest.
Yep.
I watch how many new people we have almost all the time, and I'm telling you, we're building a new fan base, which is a great reward, right, for contributing back into a community. You're actually sustaining yourself by building a younger fan base, and that's how you sustain, and that's how we get to do what we do.
I have said that I think hockey is the best spectator sport in existence. So by just being in the community, inviting someone to a game, they come in, it's easy to get hooked. It's so easy to get hooked.
I can't tell you how many times I hear that. I don't know much about hockey, but I had a great time.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It is. You mentioned the nonprofits really expanding into that. A big part of that this season that people might see during the warm-ups, especially the 989 Connect program.
Yeah.
What is that? We see special warm-up jerseys for it.
That was an entire team effort. When I say team, I'm talking about our staff. Gunnar Bouvet is leading that process. Eric Olgard and Parker. I can go down the list. Lindsay, Kay, Bob, Emma, everybody participated in that program, and it was designed to extend ourselves in the 989. So again, not a coincidence. We did that intentionally. So then we segregated it. So it's 989. What does 989 mean? It means recognizing those folks in the 989 area. Hospitals, nonprofits, Chamber of Commerce, small business, even as much as like animal. We use animal, like veterinarians, for example.
Okay.
There's so many different aspects of it, but it encompasses everybody and anybody in the 989 area. And so the jerseys look like that. They're pretty cool, too. I'm trying to find a way to get one for myself.
They look nice. Yeah.
They're great.
How many of those games are there this season?
There are 8.
8, and we've already seen like 3 of them, right?
Yeah, we've seen 3. Yeah.
Wow.
We got one coming up, too. I always have to look at my schedule to remember which one is coming up next because we do so many of them. But it's fun.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. One more break, Jimmy. We'll come back, and we got to close it out, talk a little bit more hockey because that's at the core of all of this.
Yeah,
so.
Talk about some of these guys.
Yeah, we'll be right back here on The Art Lewis Show.
With corn rootworm.
And we're back with the Art Lewis Show here. Jonathan Dent filling in for Art. Got a few more minutes in the first hour on this Thursday morning. We're talking with Jimmy Green of the Saginaw Spirit, and we talked about just a small amount of the community engagement that goes on with the Spirit, and I'm sure as the holidays pick up, that's going to be more and more involved as well.
Oh, yeah.
But we got to talk about hockey here to close it out because
Absolutely.
that's the fun stuff. Let's start with Nikita Klepov, who has been having a fantastic season.
Yeah,
and
leading
is now
all rookies.
Leading all rookies
and
scoring. has been in and out of the scoring race for the league as well, not just rookies. But he's headed to the, let me make sure I get this right. It's the CHL USA Prospects Challenge.
Yeah.
There's so many of these different tournaments and things.
Tells you a whole lot. It really tells you about the kind of talent. We seem to do this every year, 1 or 2 or 3 that wind up on that list. And again, it goes right back to, we talked about character, sustainability, quality, all those buzzwords about the kind of organization that the Saginaw Spirit is, and not used to be, but is. And I think people look at this team and say, okay, let me find out where that talent is. And they always find 1 or 2. And we've got it's amazing to watch these young men perfect their skill sets on the ice, and he's just one of them. You look at Dima. Zilkin is going to be, he's just a superstar to me already.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, he really is. And we could go on and on. Even our goalie now is really starting to, I think our defense has really picked up the pace, protected our goalie a little bit more. If you watch Shurigan over the last, 4 or 5 games, I think you're starting to see him just reach his crest, too. So I like where we're going. Like I said earlier in the program, it's a really good team. It's kind of fun watching them, too. And then I think this weekend, we're playing number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be, with Brantford and Windsor. Brantford hasn't lost a game yet. They're 11-0-2-1. So, that'll be a big test. And, if you want to be good, you got to play against the best, right? So we had a great weekend, looked fantastic. The team looks like it's gelled. Now you're getting ready to face Flint, who is certainly going to turn up their game against us. Mm-hmm. They want that trophy. And they always play their best game against us anyway, right? We're tied with them for points. And then you've got Windsor, and then you got Brantford. So what do we look like Monday? We'll have to wait and see.
We will.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I want to talk about, because I don't think he gets talked about enough, is Nick Sema.
Oh, yeah.
He was teammate of the year for the Ontario
Yeah.
Hockey League, not just the Spirit, but
Yeah.
for the whole league last year.
Yeah.
And you can just, like, you talk about developing young men and leadership qualities.
Yeah.
He just comes to mind right away.
That's my dude.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time about him. That's my dude. Certain people just have a career